Hey everyone, welcome to Open. I'm Rhina Valentin, your hosty Café con Leche for the next hour. Always inviting you to get social with us online. That is, tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, while you're there, don't forget, follow moi on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Insta Stories, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. So throughout the pandemic, the mutual aid groups became the backbone for the community by providing many resources. So the Bronx Community College Archives and Mutual Aid NYC have come together to document stories in a project entitled Community Care During COVID, Oral Histories of Mutual Aid in the Bronx. Joining us to tell us more, we welcome Bronx Community College Assistant Professor and Head of Archives, Cynthia Tobar. Hello and welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me, Rhina.
Oh, thank you for being here and thank you for being of service. Aside from being a professor, taking on this magnificent project of making sure that our history is documented and on record. Because I tell you, we're still going through it. However, I think it's important that we have it in a place that people can actually refer to it, because I've been saying to everyone, anything that's occurred within this period is going to live on for hundreds of years from now. So let's talk about how you even took on this project. Let's talk about your beginning stages of this particular project.
Well, it all began with a collaboration between me at the BCC Archives and Mutual Aid NYC, which is a grassroots network organization of mutual aid networks throughout the city, just forming that resource and that network. And we got in touch through our mutual aid and documentation and archival work. And we started thinking about devising a program that would emphasize the documentation of how COVID has been impacting our communities, but from the perspective of mutual aid organizing, which we've been seeing fill a really desperate need in our communities to help fight food insecurity, housing injustice, and vaccine equity. So we found out that there was a funding opportunity for a project. We wrote a proposal and we actually got funded. So thanks to this Equity in Action program at Metro Library Council, we got funding to collaboratively team up to create a digital library and archive of mutual aid organizing tools and oral history interviews created by, for, and in collaboration with mutual aid organizers throughout the city, but specifically in the Bronx.
Well, congratulations on that. And it's really lovely that you're guiding the next generation in taking agency on over just making sure that there's that connection with community, not only the actual course itself. I mean, wait, I'm sorry. I remember you saying it's not a course, it's a project. However, you're a professor, so somewhere in there, I meshed the two, right? Only because you're actually teaching the next generation oral history, right? And so now there's this other component that's been added in where now there's additional community coming together, servicing each other in our respective areas. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, it was very important though, as we got the funding, we kicked it off from May to select students, recruit BCC students to be the ones to be the stakeholders and the co-creators in this participatory communal archive for these organizers. And so we paired off 4 BCC students with 4 Bronx Mutual Aid organizers over the summer. I gave them training in May, and then I gave them the whole summer to do outreach with their narrator, schedule time, again, because of COVID, these couldn't be face-to-face interviews, training them with the technology on how to do interviews over Zoom. As I'm sure you're very well aware, the challenge of working within Zoom for an oral history can be quite challenging, but these students, they relish the opportunity. And for us, it was mostly as well, not just about the outcome, like let's gather these interviews, but we were really trying to be intentional with the process, getting the students to think about what were some of the questions that they would want to design to ask these organizers about what is it like to get involved in mutual aid? What are some of the challenges that you faced? What are your lived experience during this unique historical moment that we're living in? And how does it reflect strongly and particularly in the Bronx, which is again, sort of always pushed aside when we think about these mainstream narratives around these impacts, and when we think about the strength of community organizing and community building in our neighborhoods. We were really particularly interested, at least in the archives, to document how these efforts fit in the larger history of community organizing and
Right.
how this leads to residents feeling safe and secure during these really turbulent COVID times. So we trained the students, and now over these last few months, we've been collecting these stories, and we've been documenting efforts from local organizations such as South Bronx Mutual Aid, North Bronx Collective, and Friends of the Aqueduct of Oak Park, amongst others. And right now we're in the process of finishing the processing and getting these interviews uploaded onto our website so that we can make these freely accessible to the community. And also working in tandem with our partners, Mutual Aid NYC, who are developing this digital archive interface. So once that digital interface is ready, we'll upload those interviews onto their interface and portal as well. So there'll be lots of opportunities for folks to access these stories. And later on, we're hoping that we can devote some time to community engagement to see how can we get these stories readily available to our community beyond the digital. So if folks are having challenges with like working on their smartphone, or if they're having trouble with getting Wi-Fi access, we want folks to be able to use these stories. But again, the hope was to like make sure that these resources would be available primarily to organizers on the ground so that they could get the resources that they need, but also for folks who are fascinated with just documenting this particular historical moment, or other organizers who are looking for key themes, thinking around, again, vaccine inequity, food insecurity, housing, all these sorts of issues that we've been confronting as a result of the pandemic.
Yeah, which we're still confronting. And so, but it says oral histories, but I recall us having a conversation about digitizing images and having that attached to it. So, so what do you foresee as the documentation being final, right? Is it something that people can just listen to, or is it something that people are going to be able to experience? And also, where is it going to be archived? Is it just going to be at Bronx Community College?
So right now, with the funding of this project, again, thanks to Metro Library Council for giving us this initial funding, we're able to basically set up our own digital website, which will be a digital archival portal, which will house all of these materials, including the oral histories. As that's getting developed over time, we're also housing these oral history interviews on the BCC Archives website. So they'll be available, they're audio clips, they'll be available through our SoundCloud channel, so there'll be many ways for folks to access this. And so when the students were assigned to do these interviews, we wanted to really keep it accessible and simple so that we only did audio interviews. So again, it'll be easier to access and folks will be able to listen to these stories. But then also the other types of materials that we'll collect along the way, such as any kind of flyers or photographs or any other type of material that these organizations wish to include and contribute to this overall archival effort that's being run under this larger umbrella through Mutual Aid NYC. BCC Archives is a partner in this, as well as other institutions. Like we have folks from NYU Archives. There are lots of other folks on the ground throughout the city who are working on this, but this is the Bronx component, which we're really happy to collaborate and contribute and take part in.
That's lovely. And so before we go, really quickly, is there going to be a launch event for these archives? And also, I'm curious to know how many hours of oral history will be included?
So right now we're estimating about maybe 6 hours of oral history interviews. And we've interviewed 4 organizers. So we're in the process of wrapping up that work. And we're having a semi-launch event in October. So on October 26th, we're doing a panel, which we're co-sponsoring with the Bronx County Historical Society, documenting community resilience in the Bronx. So it'll be me talking about this project alongside the folks at Bronx County Historical Society, who are going to be talking about the Bronx Latino Oral History Project. And we'll be talking with some of the narrators from our respective projects. So Lori Kim Alexander, among other organizers in the Bronx, will be participating as panelists, and we're going to have a discussion and a panel just to share what it was like to be involved in these types of like documentary efforts and projects and what we hope to learn from the process.
That's lovely. Wow. That's wonderful. I'm excited. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, and we will be uploading these interviews by the end of September on the BCC website. So the interviews will be available at the end of the month, but we're hoping the October 26th event will be like sort of our nice little launch with the community.
Well, thank you for bringing it here to our viewers. That is Assistant Professor and Head of Archives, Bronx Community College, Cynthia Tobar. You guys, once again, to learn more about community care during COVID, oral histories of mutual aid in the Bronx, you can visit bccarchives.commons.gc.cuny.edu. Hope you had a pen. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear all about a creative writing workshop for high schoolers. Don't go anywhere.